everybody, Dane Clement here with Stalls. This secret sauce video is going to be a little different than the other ones I usually do. Right? I'm not going to be showing any cool artwork or software or showing a technique or anything in this one. Hope you stick with me through this one. It's going to be short and allow me to vent a little bit about some of the things that are going on in the world today as it pertains to our work, which is pretty important. Basically, I got some notes here, by the way. So if I look down and you see me, I'm looking at my notes because this is not my normal style. I don't do this. I usually show in software and kind of building something right through. So this is talking to the camera, not my normal do every day type of thing here. So here we go. First thing I'm going to talk about, I want to talk about what I struggle with pretty regularly, and that is AI artwork generators. And I teach classes on them, and I use them every day, and I think they're great, kind of. Like I have a love-hate relationship with it. That's why I like to say it. I hate it more than I love it, and the reason is because I think that they built it on the backs of other people. And what I mean by that is these big companies create this software that literally skims every image in the world on the internet, and it started there. So they're using photography stuff that people put up their artwork from artists. There's video and audio too, and I'm not going to talk about those specifically here. I'm just talking about what we would do to put an image on a shirt, right? Our industry. And I love Midjourney. It's my favorite. Ideogram's cool. Leonardo's cool. All these other things are great to use. I get, and this is where where I struggle with it, right? It is great because I can come up with 4 concepts in literally less than a minute. Seconds, sometimes 10 seconds, 15, 20 seconds, right? That would take me longer to do a thumbnail of one. Personally, like writing it, drawing it. I mean, like physically doing it. I can't do it that fast. That's why these things are so great. It allows us to create artwork super fast, that sort of thing. You have to pay them. So basically, we're using an app that typically you're going to pay for. Some of them are free. I get that. Some of them allow you to use it commercially for free. Some of them, if you want to use it commercially in your business, you have to pay a subscription to it, which is, interesting. It is what it is. But these apps were created because of the images that other people put up online, right? They stole all that IP from these people. They didn't get compensated for all the images that they put up in there. Yet I can literally ask for an image to be created in the style of a specific artist. So when they say, no, we didn't steal anything, that's not right. How is that possible then? So yeah, it was built, these things were built on other people's IP. And I just got a problem with it. I don't think it's right? I know that since it's here, it's just a tool. And we should utilize that tool because it's much faster and all that sort of thing. And I get that. And that's why I use it. I teach classes on it. I do think it's a great tool. I just don't like the way it came into being, maybe, right? So, which kind of brings me to my whole point of this particular video, right? And it's going to go to Adobe and specifically their business practices, which I think are pretty crappy. And I've thought they were pretty crappy for a long, long time. And it seems like other people are finally starting to pay attention and see. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm known as a Photoshop guy. I've been using Photoshop since version 2. That's before it even had layers in it, right? This is going way back early 90s. I don't even remember when. Maybe, way back. So what I did was, at the time, they had plugins were pretty abundant, right? They were all over the place. They still have some plugin software companies out there now, but not as much. So back in the day, before they had layers, I bought a plugin that allowed me to have layers inside of Photoshop version 2. Cool, right? So Adobe thought that was cool too. And basically, in the next version, they just took that information, that idea. They thought it was cool. They put it in the software app. That company's out of business. Now, whether they were compensated for that, I have no idea. I would venture to guess probably not. So that was like my first exposure to Adobe's crappy business practices, right? And I'm an Adobe guy. I use Photoshop every day. But I think I'm going to slow down or start using other things because there are other ones out there. So after that company went out of business, they've done it over and over and over again. It's just happened for years. Then Adobe comes into subscriptions, which, you can love them or hate them. I kind of don't really appreciate them. I'd rather have an option to buy it and just upgrade whenever I want to upgrade. Because, what we do as creating artwork for shirts, our industry type of thing, we don't need all this other stuff that Photoshop is. Photoshop's just gotten to be so big and just plugged in full of stuff that we don't need. And if you need it, you need 3D and you need video, okay, that's great. It's in there. I don't use any of that stuff. So why am I paying $50 whatever a month to use it? I would rather just get on a CD, get it as a download, one time, boom, I'm done. At least having that option, because when the subscriptions came about, it was, oh, you'll have those options. You can still buy it on DVD, and you can also, go ahead and use the cloud version. This is, that you have it. You had both for a little while, and then now you don't, right? So I don't know. I don't trust any of these big companies at all, I guess, right? So I guess knowing that, let's go ahead and take a look at which I'm sure you guys have heard about. It's all over the internet right now, is Adobe's terms of use change, right? So they made a change to their terms of use. That little dialog box that pops up that everybody just hits, okay, let me get out, let me start doing my work. Nobody ever reads those things. Well, it's kind of cool that somebody started reading them, evidently, because it is a big old noise. Now, some of these things have been in there for a few years now, right? So it's not new, but I think more people are waking up to it and being aware of things. And that's kind of my whole point about this whole video today is I don't know that we should be just using and just going along because they say we need to use it, so we're just going to go ahead and use it and not worry about the what repercussions or what can happen or anything. So I don't know. It's one of those things that just bug me. These are my struggles, right? So all I know is when I get out of here today, I probably should go in the swamp in my boat, decompress, and just clear my head because this stuff drives me crazy sometimes. So let's do this. Let's take a look at the terms of service. So here we go. Here's Adobe's terms of service, right? So I'm not going to read all this stuff. You can go read it individually. I'm just going to show you certain parts that kind of make me go, Content. Content means any text, information, communication, material such as audio files, video files, electronic documents, or images that you upload, import into, or embed for use in our software services services and software, right? So that's interesting. That means any image I open in Photoshop, I've imported into. So I guess it's going to check it out and look at it, right? So those are so here we go. Licensing solely for the purposes of operating and improving the services and software. It's the only thing we're going to do here. We're going to talk about this licensing. This is what I don't understand. If that is the case, then the rest of this sentence is a complete BS. You grant us a non-exclusive, worldwide, royalty-free, sub-licensable license to use, reproduce, publicly display, distribute, modify, create, derivatives of, based on, publicly perform, and translate the content. I'm sorry, what? Excuse me? I'm using your software to create my artwork, but in order to do that, I just automatically grant you the right to do all this stuff. And this is my favorite. Very next paragraph here, right? The ownership. Well, now, we don't own the software. You own the software, right? Look, you retain all rights and ownership of your content. But we can do anything we want with your content as if we own it. I mean, they can sell it, they can use it, they can display it, they can distribute, they can modify it, they do just as if they owned it, but they can technically say, well, we don't own it, you own it, but we just can act as if we own it and do anything we want to do with it. So I call BS on this, and this is a typical Adobe, and I'm just going to tell you, I'm starting to really get annoyed with them, and this just kind of puts it to the next level. Now, it's not just them. For instance, Windows Recall. What the hell is that? If you never heard of it, it's a thing coming in Windows 11, right? It's called Windows Recall, and it literally constantly takes screenshots of your computer. Always. And it uploads it, and it analyzes by AI, and it stores it. I'm sorry, but that's creepy as all get out. So every single thing done on that Windows computer, everything is screenshotted, sent off to the cloud somewhere, and they analyze it. So nothing ever leaks out of these cloud systems, right? Nothing ever. I mean, you could be doing your banking and you type in your password. Guess what? There's a screenshot of that thing sitting in Windows Cloud somewhere. What? These things just piling and piling and piling, right? These things change so fast, it drives me absolutely out of my mind. So maybe it's time for an initiative, right? Maybe it's a time for, hey, we got AI artwork over here, and we got created with human hands over here. Maybe there's something we can bring into that. So if you want to use the AI, use it. I'm going to use it because of what it does. But I don't like the fact that I have to use it because in order to get my job done faster and make myself more valuable to the company, I need to use it, right? I get it. And that's the part where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't in my book, right? It's like there is no win-win here anymore, right? And that's a big struggle. Obviously, it's a struggle I'm just going to have to live with, right, and deal with, and just decompress out in the swamps whenever the hell I need to get a break from it. So then I can rejuvenate my batteries and come on back in and deal with all the headaches again, right? Anyway, I think that's maybe this initiative should be something we should look a little bit more closely at. I know I'm on board. That's kind of all I wanted to talk about. I wanted to put it out there. If you haven't thought about it, maybe you need to think about it. Maybe you need to think about where we are, where we're going. Because I'm really trying to figure out what the next steps are, what can make it better. What can we control? Because I'm sorry, but I don't trust anybody anymore. These big companies, whatever they say, look at that, throw it out of the window. It's complete BS. I guarantee you there's a backdoor angle that they're talking about, and they're just going to market it to you like there's no issues whatsoever. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread, this stuff. So, all right. Enough of all that fun and exciting news, right? I will tell you this, so I'm going to show you. You may see this in some of my future videos, right? So as an alternative to Adobe Photoshop, since I am a Photoshop guy, this software here, Affinity Photo, is a rock solid app. It looks a lot like Photoshop, operates a lot like Photoshop. I teach classes on it. I have in the past quite a bit. It's a great app. And then when Adobe came out with their generative fill and their Firefly in there now in the beta, so those kinds of things helped Adobe leap past Affinity Photo because of that feature. But if you're going to use an AI app, you can use something else. Midjourney, ideograms, create the artwork there, come in here, add text, do what you got to do in this app. Because these guys are not looking at your artwork and not analyzing it. They're not checking it. So I don't know. I just think that they do all those things in the guise of this is good for humanity. You're going to make sure that you're not doing anything illegal. Is it going to stay there? Is that all they're going to do? Or is there some rogue employee going to leak out stuff? If you got an NDA and you're working on stuff that no one's supposed to see, good luck with that, because you now have no control over that. Anyway, there's a bunch of that, something to think about, right? And I promise my next one, I will be in a much more happier, jovial mood, and we'll create some artwork and take a look at those kind of things. So thanks for hanging in there. If you're still here, appreciate it for hanging in to the end, and I look forward to my next one. See ya.